Hola YouTube, my name is Ricardo Lino and I'm a wheel addict. In this video I'm going to talk about 8 basic tricks to make you skate backwards successfully. You can't just go backwards by looking forward and creating an imaginary world. I'm looking through my left, but then I take my right foot in front like this. If this is the first video that you've seen from me, well, I've been making other tutorials, like from advanced to beginners. This is a really beginner's tutorial, and today the first tip is how do the skates really work. So if you look into my feet, you will see that my skates are usually parallel if I want to stay in the same position. If I open my toes, I tend to go forward, but if I open my heels, I tend to go backwards. So the first tip is actually this. How do the skates really work? Well, to start, there's more than one way to start going backwards, but at the beginning this could be something very helpful for you, because if I just put my heels out, I'm gonna start going backwards. Tip number 1, how do the skates work? Now you know. Toes out, you go forward. Heels out, you go backwards. Now, before I go to tip number 2, let me just tell you that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. If you didn't know what Skillshare is, well, Skillshare is an online learning platform where you can learn basically everything. I've been trying to learn how to be more productive. I have so many things going on, but I really want to keep my productivity levels up there. So there's this productivity masterclass by Ali Abdal, which is a doctor and a YouTuber. This guy actually gives you so many tips how to be more productive. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm already starting to feel a little bit of the results. Anyway, if you want to dip a little bit into this Skillshare world, and if you want to try it first, the first 1,000 people to click on the link in the description of this video will have access to a trial of the Skillshare Premium membership. Now, tip number 2. This is obviously very important, and for some people, this could even be more important than the step number 1, and that is the basic position. Well, you already know if you want to go forward, the basic position is usually bending your knees, and you want to keep your shins against the front of your skate. This can also be applied to going backwards. Now, very important here is that you do not want to have all your weight on the back and do not want to have all your weight on the front. If you have all your weight on the front, what's going to happen is you're going to fall forward, which is the most common way of falling when you're skating backwards. So in order to avoid that, what you want to do is you want to try focusing more weight on the middle 2 wheels. You do not want to go too much forward, you do not want to go too much backwards. Try to focus on having your weight on the middle 2 wheels. Your knees should be bent, because having your knees bent will avoid this from happening all the time, or this, okay? Knees bent are going to help you a lot. Bend your knees, feel your shins against the front of your skate, and then try to keep the weight on those 2 middle wheels. Now, let's get into tip number 3. How do you get speed when you go backwards? Well, you already know how to start, and we said it. If you want to start, what you can do is just like putting your toes out and you're gonna start going backwards. But from here, if you want to keep going backwards, you're not gonna open your legs to infinity, right? What you're gonna do is you're gonna start doing the same that you can do forward, which is lemons. There's an exercise, a very known exercise called lemons when you go backwards, which is basically this. You're doing lemons, and that is this, right? You can do this going forward, but you can also do that going backwards. So check this out. Heels out, you go up, in, wait, out, in, out, in. And this is how you go backwards. Now, not everyone is able to control their feet the same way, so for some people it's easier to start by doing it with 1 foot, and that would be this. I put all my weight on my left foot, and now I move the right one. And I do basically the same. It's just, let's just call it half lemons. And I can do it with one leg, with the other, or with both. And this is how you skate backwards. This is the most simple and effective way for you to start going backwards. Of course, you can always just go downhill backwards, and you will also go backwards, but if you turn around like this, you can also go uphill, okay? It's a way to get speed while skating backwards. Now, you might be thinking, how do I stop? Well, that's tip number 4. You already know the basic position, you know how the skates work, you know how to start getting speed. But knowing how the skates work is the most important one to make you understand how you stop. Remember that I told you if you point your toes out, you go forward? Well, check this out. If I'm just going backwards, and if I put my feet in this position and I think of going forward, remember, this is how I go forward. So let's call the speed of going backwards negative speed, right? If I add negative speed to positive speed, that's gonna make me stop. And that's exactly what happens here. Of course, while I'm doing the lemons, I also go through this position. What you need to think when you're going backwards and you want to stop is, once you point your toes out, you're gonna push your feet like if you wanna open your legs in this direction, and that will make you stop. Let me just show you once again. Very important. The wider your feet are, the more reactive they are going to be. Meaning, the wider they are, the easiest it's going to be to stop. Now, the fifth tip, which is very important, in my opinion, is actually the most important one, because you can't skate without look. And that is, where do you look when you're trying to skate backwards? You can't just go backwards by looking forward and creating an imaginary world. You need to look. And a very common mistake is that I'm looking through my left, but then I take my right foot in front like this. There's one way to do this, and that is, usually, of course, when you're doing lemons, you should look over one shoulder. But when you're just rolling, you have the tendency of putting one foot in front. That should be the side that you look over your shoulder. So, if I put my right foot leading, then I should look over my right foot, something like this. Okay? This will be very hard for me, and this will make me lose balance. So you should always look over the shoulder from the leg that it's leading. If I lead with my left leg, then I look over my left shoulder. If I look through the other, I go this way. So always looking over the shoulder of the leg that it's leading. That's a simple one. So the sixth very important tip for you to skate backwards is, how do you turn? You might be thinking, how do we turn? Well, for me, there's two different ways to do it. One of them is like, if I'm doing the lemons, if I apply more pressure on one side, I'm already turning. Or if I apply more pressure on the other side, I'm turning the other way. That's one way, by just pushing it to the side and applying more pressure on one foot, I tend to spin around the other foot that it's not pushing, kind of like a compass. Like if the rolling one is the spike of the compass. And for me to be able to do that, the foot that is on the ground, you want to apply more pressure on the front two wheels. So remember those middle wheels? For you to be able to turn, you need to apply more pressure on the front two wheels. Don't apply too much pressure, otherwise you're going to fall forwards. Now this can also be done by just rolling. So I can be rolling backwards and start turning. Really? Not too hard. The way that you do this is usually by turning your shoulders, and when you spin your shoulders, your outside leg tends to go. Now for you to be able to do this, once again, you cannot apply pressure on the heels. If you apply pressure on the heels, you won't be able to open it. Always think of the compass. The foot that goes outside is like the pencil. The foot that stays inside is the spike of the compass. So it's this, spin your shoulder and you're spinning. It's not too hard. Most of the time the problem too. I go from here to here. There's a couple of different ways. A very simple way for someone that already has control on their skates would be jumping. Just going forward, doing a jump 180 degrees and start going backwards. And then from here, then you know, lemons or half lemons or a lemon one side, lemon the other. Both these ways could actually work to make you go backwards. But not everyone is confident enough on their skates to just do the jump. So if you're not confident enough to do this, you can progressively do this jump by starting like first just jumping in the same position, and then you can use your arms and just jump 90 degrees and then another 90 degrees, and then from 90 degrees you're going to start going to maybe to 70 or the full 180. And for some people, doing these on a carpet, on the grass, will make them feel a lot more comfortable. This would be one way, but some people just don't want to jump on skates. And if you're one of those, if you don't want to jump on skates, here's what you're gonna try. You're gonna try just opening one leg as much as you can, put all the weight on the new leg on the floor, and then now that all my weight is on this leg, I put the other one. Now, I didn't spin completely 180 degrees, and ideally that's what I should have done. This is how this would look. Go here, I open one leg, rolls, and I go backwards. Never forget, once you put the first leg out, once it goes on the floor, you need to put all your weight on it. So even if it's not 180 degrees, even if it's just these and this, could be a way to start. You don't need to do the full 180 degrees, but if you go fast, you want to do the full 180 degrees. If you're going very slow, you can start by doing just this. You're not going backwards, it works. And then you go and you do 90 degrees. As long as you do more than 90 degrees will be enough for you to start going backwards. Check this out. I go here, I do a bit more than 90 degrees, and then my second leg spins a little bit more, and that makes me go backwards already. If you want to do it very smoothly, it would be more like this. You will get there with time. So now you know two ways. Either you can jump, or you can also one leg, the other. Two different ways of doing it, not too hard. Now, you know how to turn from forwards to backwards. What about turning from backwards to forwards? Because you don't want to go backwards to infinity, right? You want to learn how to turn. Once again, there's two ways. Either you're one of those that like to jump, and then you go from here to here, and one of the most important things is when you do this transition from backwards to forwards, always remember to, once you land, bend your knees, shins against the front of the skate, and then one thing that you can do to help you is come and touch your knees. So it'd be something like this. Check this out. I go backwards, and I do this. And by doing this, what's happening is I'm leaning forward enough, not too much, but enough for me to not fall backwards, which is a very common mistake from going backwards to forwards. Now, you can also do the step-on one, basically this. For some people, they just prefer it. And once again, you don't need to do the full 180 degrees. You can start by going from here to here. I did a little bit more than 90 degrees. You can even do less. You're just starting. This is just a progression that we're trying to learn. We know that the goal is to do the full 180 degrees, but until we get there, everything helps. Even if you just do this, it helps. Even if you just go stop, that you already learned, and then go forward. This all works. These are all different ways to go from backwards to forwards, and we're happy with any of those. The whole thing here is just to give you the tools that you need to be more successful on skates. And now, after these 8 tips, I really hope that you are able to skate backwards. Please let me know in the comments if this video was helpful for you. I really hope it was, because that's the main goal with this series. Once again, thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and make sure to go check the link in the description. It really helps this channel a lot. What also helps this channel is that you go and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and press on that bell button so you'll get a notification every time I upload one of these. And if you really like what I'm doing here, you can always join the community that I have going on here. I just try to make things specifically for that group of people, and it's also a way to support what I do. Other than that, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down, but let me know what you didn't like about this video so I can try to change for another video. And just like I always say, just don't forget why we all started skating. Forwards or backwards, we all started skating because it's fun. Now cheers, and see you soon. Let me go backwards. Let me go. That's another one. I'll teach you that next time.